All right.
What's up? What's up? Welcome, one and all. It's Friday. It's Great Black Detox Fibroid Fridays, right here on Great Black Detox TV, Great Black Detox FM, cable, satellite. What other mediums do we use? On the fiber optic. Wherever you can get us, you're going to get us. Welcome, one and all. Terrestrial. Yeah. What's that, Dad? Welcome, one and all, to another fabulous Friday. We're so glad to have you guys here, and we're really honored that you could have us. You allowed us to have us here in your living rooms, in your kitchens. We're in Maura's kitchen. We're in Pamela's den. I know Moses is in his game room. Nadira, what's up, folks? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dr. Amsi, what's up, mate?
Another day, another dollar, innit?
Another day.
Another day, another dollar. Pamela, that Thyroid RX is on its way already. You didn't have to order it. All right.
All right, yeah. Celebrate. We need to get that. We need more Cool in the Gang on the thing. Dr. Amsi's favorite group. Well, listen, guys, I think everyone on the call.
My top 5.
Are regulars. So you guys know what it's all about. So I'm not going to bore you with the admin stuff. But as people join, I see some new names and faces I may put back in. For those of you on the IG, we're not talking to you. All right, we will talk to you. Listen, you guys need to join the Zoom up in Dr. Amsu's link tree in his bio. Click on that bad boy. Towards the bottom, you'll see a link for the Friday session. So you guys can join the Zoom. So when you ask questions, we'll see them, we'll hear them, and then we can hear you and see you. We can interact with you live on the Zoom. And for those of you, well, if you're on this call, you don't need to see this information, but if you happen to step out, you can see us live on YouTube. If you go to the Great Black Detox channel, and the live button should be up. Hit on that bad boy, and you'll see us live on Zoom. You can interact with us on Zoom in YouTube as well by asking questions in the chat. If you do have questions, just raise your hand and let us know in the chat that you have a question, and we'll do our best to try and get to you. Until then, there are no questions. So, Dr. Amsu, what's the... I'm not going to say it.
Oh, what's on my radar?
I wasn't going to say it. You said it.
I mean, it's all about COVID, mate. It's all about COVID, the vaccines, natural immunity, and all that. More papers coming out from all over the world in agreement about the Omicron virus being a lot less potent or devastating than Delta, and natural immunity being more effective against Omicron and other variants because of when you get over the virus naturally, your antibodies are created for all of the proteins, whether it's the nucleocapsid, whether it's the spike proteins, whether it's the membranous proteins. We have specific T cells that will remember those proteins. So so even if there's a variant, it depends on how many variations or how many mutations occur, right, in a variant, but you're more likely to have a defense mechanism against it if you got over the infection naturally than if you took something, you took the vaccine mRNA and it was for just those spike proteins. So it's great news. So all the mandates, and that's another great thing as well. Biden's administration just got shut down by the Supreme Courts for the mandate that they were trying to bring into place. So, you know what I mean? Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I guess that's good news of a kind. Well, listen, folks, we've got a little time here. Nadir, I see your hand raised. If you have anything pressing, sometimes you want to share something that isn't necessarily a question, you're more than welcome to do so. You can just drop me a line in the chat and I'll have a look at that and we can discuss what it is you want to discuss, as long as it's clean. If you want to do any sexy talk, we've got to wait till after 6:45. Nadira, how you doing, darling?
Hi. I on now. I'm always that echo again. I don't know.
So Nadira, I don't know what it is.
It's you, Nadira.
It's not me.
Process of elimination. No one else has been given that echo.
But this started this week. I don't understand.
Your mic's cutting out.
Yeah,
because there's an echo.
I think it's the iPad. Like,
hold on. It might be something on our end.
Hold on.
Which room of the house are you in?
Right, there we go.
Hello?
Is that better now?
Hello? Is that?
We can
Is
still
that
hear
right?
you. Sing something.
Hold on now. No,
Okay, all right.
that's not my lane. I stay in my lane.
You never do karaoke.
I did it like years ago when I used to drink. So.
Oh, so you did it.
You did it drunk, right? And then they banned you.
In your
Right?
mind's eye,
Yeah.
you sound like
I'm
Anita
not
Baker.
totally-
You sound like
I'm
Anita
not
Baker in your
totally
mind's eye.
deaf. I'm not totally tone deaf, but I'm less conscious of what notes that I'm hitting or not hitting. We'll just say that. With a little alcohol, right?
Well, Nadir, I'm sure you're much better singer than I am, so it's their loss.
Okay. So, all right.
If I wasn't gonna be a doctor, I was gonna be a singer. I come from a singing family. Yes.
Oh, really?
Who sings in your
Interesting.
family?
What do you mean who sings in my family? All my sisters sing.
I don't know, mate.
Really?
We grew up in church, so we had to sing.
But that's
We had
not
to
singing,
sing.
that's singing.
No, well, whatever.
Ain't the same thing, boy.
All I know is I got a better voice than you. That's all I know. That's all I know.
Okay.
Jackie was in a few groups. My sister Jacqueline.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to
Isn't that
know.
right, Jacqueline? But anyway, Nadira, let's get back to you. So,
Yes. So, all right, I'm going to start off with some positive information because that's always good. And so here's the thing that I'm learning and I'm understanding about my body as I'm healing it. So my superpowers are when I'm not on my cycle. So I'm good in that window of time between ovulation.
right.
It's good. I feel like Superwoman. I can do so many things. And then when it's time to ovulate, it's like all my superpowers go away. But there are some definitely positive healing things that are happening. Like, the cycle is way less and not as heavy. The headaches have subsided. I can get away with just using like a heating pad if I'm having cramping. The raspberry leaf tea has been very beneficial in that. And, I know that the supplements and the diet changes have definitely helped with that. So that brings me to, I need to kind of understand the relationship. Like, I know we talk about estrogen dominance a lot, but what is the relationship? This is like a 2 or 3 part question, just a heads up. Hi everyone. I'm sorry I didn't give a general greeting to everyone, but hello everybody on the call. So going back to the question. So the question is, what is the relationship between progesterone and estrogen? Like, what is the role that they play, and if they get too far away from each other, I guess during the cycle, is that problematic too? Like, not enough progesterone.
Progesterone.
I can't say that word.
All right. So, progesterone plays a major role in ovulation, right? In ovulation. So it's known as the heat hormone. So that's what, with all mammals, right? When animals are on heat, meaning that's their best time to get pregnant, right?
Right.
They get frisky, and it's because of the progesterone. Progesterone is an upper. it's an energy surger, right? And whereas estrogen is more of a depressant, right? Is a depressant. So estrogen has a slowing effect on cells. It slows cells down. It slows down charge, or when it gets into a cell, when it diffuses across the cell membrane and gets into a cell, it will actually inhibit the spin of mitochondria, right? So cells become less charged. And when cells become less charged, they become more susceptible to attacks from leukocytes, right? So the cell integrity, right? So cellular integrity is dependent upon the mitochondrial spin, and also the impervious nature of the membrane, right? So with estrogen, the effect it has on cells is it makes it more pervious or permeable, and it also slows down the mitochondria, which is the charge, the energy. So mitochondria is everything to a cell. It's the energy, it's the charge, it's the life, you could say, of the cell. It's what drives the cell, right? And how a cell expresses itself is dependent upon how great that charge is. Obviously, there's the nucleus, which carries the DNA, and it carries what is this cell supposed to do? How is the cell supposed to behave? So that's also dependent upon genetics and epigenetics, which genetic codes or genes are switched on in order for the cell to express itself how it's supposed to. Estrogen disrupts cellular behavior when it is unchecked, when it's not regulated. Now, estrogen dominance is basically the ratio between estrogen and progesterone, right, and other hormones, right, where estrogen goes out of whack, where it becomes almost unregulated, right? So it is regulated by other hormones, and also sex binding hormones, sex binding globulins, right? Sex hormone binding globulins. So there's a regulation that takes place, a natural regulation that takes place, which can be disrupted by outside forces, by the nutrients you put into your body, by toxins, by pollutants, by xenoestrogens, what we call xenoestrogens, which are these chemicals which behave like estrogen. Then there is us as black people, how we have this polymorphism, genetic polymorphism, right? Which is not a mutation, it's something that is common with black people, that we have an estrogen receptor alpha, right? Our estrogen receptor alpha is more sensitive to estrogen than everybody else's. Everybody else's sensitivity, right? So we upregulate, we amplify, and exacerbate the effects of estrogen for the worse, right? Then we have, in the way of metabolism, we have another genetic polymorphism where we produce more aromatase, an enzyme, right? CYP19A1, which is responsible for the production of aromatase. Aromatase is an enzyme that converts other hormones into estrogen, other sex hormones, or other androgens like testosterone, right? And it will convert progesterone into estrogen. So not only are we oversensitive to estrogen, but we also convert more stuff into estrogen, and then we amplify the effects. So what that means is that during your cycle, there's an influx, because on a cycle there is a surge in progesterone to get ready, right, in ovulation, meaning that the eggs gonna be ready and it's a time to get pregnant, right? And then following ovulation there's a surge in estrogen, which is which happens on the cycle, or just before and during the cycle there's a surge. And that's where, you know, women will have their problems if there's an imbalance. If there's a hormonal imbalance, that's what causes the cramps. It causes the heavy bleeding. It causes the behavior that us men love, you know. And it's that behavior that women have while they're on their cycle that us men, we adore it. We look forward to it every month.
Is that, by the way? I'd like to know, what does that mean exactly?
All right. So when you've all heard it, you know your aunties and you know your cousins and whoever, that they had that time of the month where it was their hormones, they're emotional, they may be irrational, you know, they got short tempers and whatnot, right? They don't think it through.
we don't think it
They
through.
cry a lot. And they say it's my hormones. Now you know what it means. Hormonal imbalance. It's a hormonal imbalance. It's not natural, right? But it's become accepted that during this time, because of the sad diet and bad lifestyle and the pollutants and everything, right? The anxiety and depression that happens, right?
Yes.
Estrogen plays a major role in that. A major role.
Okay.
It is one of the part of the pathogenesis of anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and all those things, as well as the physiological aspects of bloating, gaining weight, cramps, heavy bleeding, heavy menstrual bleeding, right? Acne, all those things. It's all due to this imbalance and dominance or overweight, disproportionate amount of estrogen. Serum estrogen and around organs.
So with that, thank you for the explanation. I love to hear the science first. So with that, if my ratio is extremely imbalanced between estrogen and progesterone, what can I eat or do to remedy that? Because, you know, I'm the anomaly in this situation. So could that have effect on what's happening?
Okay, so remember, so here's something for you to also factor in to this as well, right? How old are you now?
Old enough. No, I'm kidding. I'm 44.
44. And you see, I can get away with asking that question, right?
Yeah,
I can get away with that.
So. I know.
It's like, how old are you? I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm such and such. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So it's taken, let's just say 43 years of your life of bad habits, bad diet, right?
Okay.
Of a way of life, staples that you've had in your life that has led you to fibroids, or whatever it is that do you have fibroids? You have fibroids, right? Okay, so it's led to your fibroids. It's led to your body being tumorous, right? And it's led to your estrogen dominance. Now, the reversal of that, and everybody's different. Some women, it happens quickly because of their epigenetics, how well, what goes on in their body, right? So your estrogen receptor alpha is probably even more sensitive, right? So there's genes that we have as black people that is more sensitive, and it's the amount of receptors as well, right? So every cell in our body has receptors for different things, and it's the amount of estrogen receptor alpha that you have that is probably more so than other people, right?
Right.
And then you have that polymorphism in that receptor, which amplifies, which is more gimme, gimme, gimme. Yes, I'm lapping up. I'm so sensitive to estrogen, right? Then you could have a greater expression of CYP19A1 than usual, which means that pollutants that are around you, just what you're breathing in.
Oh wow!
Right, not what you're eating. Right, it's what you breathe in. Car fumes. You know.
So wait, let me interject for 1 second.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm just trying to understand. So in addition to being African American or of someone of African descent, on top of this sensitivity, just in general, mine is like through the roof, basically. Let's just be real here.
Right, yes.
So I can't.
Plus you're a black woman, right? An African American woman, which you are more, you require more vitamin D, right? Or more sunlight than everybody else, because you're more likely to be vitamin D deficient.
Which I am,
which you are, and you know that, right? So all these things play part and parcel to the conditions that your body's going through.
Right.
Things are stacked up against us as black people. The environment that we live in is stacked against us, right? The latitude that we live in, that we get 6 months where we get 0 UVB from the sun. So there's 6 months, half of the year, and then it might be even longer, because even people in the South with, a lot of studies have been done on D3 deficiency, and a whole bunch of people in the South all year round, they remain deficient because they want to stay in the shade. They don't get out into the sun. They want to have the air on and be in, with blinds closed and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So all these things are stacked against us.
Yeah.
Then there's what medications have we taken during our lifetime?
Well, I'm not a person, I don't believe in taking lots of medication, but I know medication also includes over the counter, but so in the past, during my cycle, I used to take ibuprofen. Right.
And look it up. Have you ever looked up the negative side effects of ibuprofen before?
I know there's a liver issue, like it could cause issues with your liver.
But you heard that. You never looked it up.
No, it's on the label. It says something about that and in dealing with your stomach, something with the stomach too. Like never take it. I don't remember exactly what it was,
but here's what I'm saying. All right, so I make this drink, right? And there's something in this drink that ain't good for you. I go to the FDA and I say, okay, how much of the negative aspect of this drink do I have to report? They say, oh, well, you don't have to report this. You don't have to report that. Plus, this ingredient that is such and such, you can actually list it as something else to hide it, right? So reading a label is good as far as it can take you, but you should look up, side effects of ibuprofen to know all the effects it has, because women take it religiously, or what's Motrin? What's in Motrin?
Yeah, Motrin, Advil. What else?
All the different
ibuprofen,
Tylenol, like all of them.
Right, Tylenol, all these different.
Acetaminophen, I think.
Right.
I'll take 1 second.
What effects do they have? And if you're taking it religiously on a cycle that, for a whole week or 4 days a month, like clockwork, I'm gonna take this because I got pains, I got cramps, I get migraines and whatever. And then if I get a migraine in between, I'm gonna, when I was a kid, I hated getting headaches, so I would take Motrin and stuff.
Motrin is ibuprofen. Tylenol is acetaminophen.
Right. So I knew,
yeah.
So I was taking ibuprofen like if ever I got a headache, which might be once every 2 months or 3 months. But any kind of headache I got, it would be like, that helped it, but it didn't help it. It just cut off the communication, right?
Yeah.
And over time of constantly doing that, you are corroding your body's natural way to deal with any kind of condition. So you actually condition your body to rely upon these pharmaceuticals, whether they're over the counter or they're by prescription or whatever, and they break you down and they cause hormonal imbalance. Now, hormonal imbalance occurs at the endocrine level, at the brain level. So it's a cerebral dysfunction that's going on when you're producing too much of something, right? There's an interference that takes place that influences the way how your brain and your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland and other glands that are involved, right? Gonadotropin releasing hormone that releases luteinizing hormone or follicle stimulating hormone, progesterone, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, estradiol, estrone, and all the other different types of estrogen molecules that are in the body, right? All the different androgens. When there's a disruption, it throws everything off. And there has to be a fine tuning. So the more I study is the more I believe in God, because it's like, how is this so intricate and how is there so much balance? And it's such a fine, minute tuning, right? That one little thing can throw a cascade of dysfunction, but somehow we're still alive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everything, it's like people will be getting on good and it's like, right, I'm going to have a cheat day. That one cheat day can create a cascade that lasts for a whole week or 2 or a month. Just one cheat day, man. Let me get that whiskey, or let me get some soy. Let me eat that flax or whatever. And it depends on you, your epigenetics, on how badly you're affected by this substance, this chemical that you've now put into your body.
Yeah. Okay. So now, how do I, sort of like, okay, so I already know the estrogen part of it, but is sort of working on the progesterone, is that important too? Or is it just important to focus on the estrogen?
No, well, I mean, it's about hormonal balance. It's about getting your body to produce hormones in the right proportions. That's what it's about. It's not, all right, estrogen dominance is widespread. It's a pandemic.
Yeah.
So we will talk about estrogen dominance, but remember, estrogen dominance means that too much estrogen is being produced, not enough progesterone is being produced. Then women who take pills, either they're taking synthesized estradiol or estrogen, or progestin, which is a synthesized version of progesterone. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So with that, there are progesterone receptors which can also be instrumental in the production of fibroids, right? But it's a lot less common. A lot less common.
Okay. So basically, I should stick with taking all of the supplements that I'm taking now. I don't know. There's a lot.
Yes. So the thing is like, you're on the right track, especially if you've seen results with certain things that are right. Yeah. It's better than it was last year. It's better than it was 6 months ago. So that's progression. Even if it might be slow and you might get a bit frustrated at, man, how come I ain't getting the quick results?
Well, it's not so much, I don't mind getting slower results. I just want to reverse the growth. I would rather them not be growing. And because, to be honest with you, I don't really know that they're in there. Like, my anemia affects me way more, I think, than the actual fibroids themselves. But I think, me going to the doctors, they always create this pressure. You have to get this thing out. But I'm like, is that really what's affecting me, or is it something else? So like I said, I could just do a heating pad and drink, take my supplements and, make sure that I'm staying on my diet and I'm fine. But it's the growth that's it's a concern. I'll just say that. The fact that they're still growing, that's why I'm like, okay, well, is there an imbalance with the progesterone or is it something else? That's what I would like to know.
I mean, it's blatantly there's an imbalance between the estrogen and the progesterone. Blatantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. You know, and they also will affect the way your body produces other hormones and other neurotransmitters, and you know, everything gets thrown into disarray. So it's your body's gonna find balance, but avoiding certain things, and you know, the whole detoxification process of eliminating things out of your diet. And, you know, whether you intermittently fast or you have days where it's like, I'm going to just drink coconut water today and water and whatever, and cutting certain things out where you gradually start to flush your body out and, you know, get everything back to normal, right? Get as close to balance as possible, then you will start to see results, because fibroids require material, they require resources in order to grow. Right? So it's about making sure that you cut the resources, right? And that you find that diet when you eat certain things. If you eat certain things and you're feeling 100%, 200%, and you're feeling energized and all that, keep that up. Even if you end up eating the same thing over and over again, stick to what works. Because we have something, the reason why we have variety is so that people can find within that variety what works for them. There might be something that you eat that's on the list that your body might not respond well to. And you know, all right, nope, that thing there, I don't agree with that.
Right. Okay. I think that's it for now. If I think of something else. But thank you. I appreciate the complex answer, and then the what to eat, like the things that I should like adjust, because I don't know if so I've already done the fibroid detox. I did it already.
No, the fibroid detox does not end until your fibroids are gone. So you can't.
Well, no, I'm saying like I did.
You did the elimination phase.
Yeah, I did that. But like I said, I mean, I already did that part of it, that aspect of it. So now I'm in the phase of, okay, what else do I need to remove or bring into my regimen to get them to go away,
right.
Basically.
And remember, this is a repeat cycle. So you're alternating between elimination and regeneration. That's what you're going to be doing. And you're going to fine tune your diet, right? Yeah. During elimination and with regeneration, that you're going to cut out stuff that you find, all right, this ain't working too great for me. I don't feel great when I eat this, you know. And then there's the qigong, there's the exercises, you know, and the exercising is also very important, that you are moving lymph.
Yes, I do my I do it in the mornings and at night.
All right, good. So you're repeating elimination and regeneration. You can do 42, 18, 42, 18.
So go back and forth between the two.
Back and forth.
All right. Thank you again.
All right.
Thank you, Nadira.
You're welcome.
Okay, Saran Davis, I know you didn't have your hand raised, but I had your question up here, so I'd love for you to ask your question straight to the panel. Saran, are you there? Would you do ask the question and run upstairs? Okay, Saran's not around. Okay, I'm going to hold Saran for a second. I see Laverne, you have your hand raised.
Yes. How are you?
We're doing great, Laverne. How are you doing?
Good. So I have a question, right? I don't have fibroids based on what I know. I've never been diagnosed with that. So like what I've done, I started like eliminating certain things out of my diet because, as I mentioned in previous meetings, that I was one that had those really bad cramps, and I still did as old as I got, and still having a cycle, I would experience it. So I started to actually cut on some things, but my question is because I don't have it, like foods that are not as high in estrogen, I can still like use certain foods, right? Or I want to avoid them because I know there was something that wasn't right because of my as I got older, I was like in the past 2 3 years, changes that occur in my body and how I was feeling, I know something wasn't right. But now, with me making the adjustment, I know I can definitely tell that I do not have cramps, and I'm so comfortable. I'm thank God for that. But I don't want, what I'm trying to say, I don't want to go back and eat certain foods that I saw that you guys said you shouldn't, because yeah, they might be mild, but you should avoid them. And I kind of totally cut out all those foods. I don't want to go back and start to encounter like discomfort with my cycle or my body, and I can tell it's off, even though I don't have that diagnosed. So I'm trying to figure out like, could I use certain foods that are mild, that has estrogen, but it's not as high in estrogen because I don't have fibroids, or would that kind of stir back the situation that I had before? If you understand what I'm asking.
So I think there's a high level question
I don't
there.
know
and I think
what you just said.
I understand the question. If you don't mind, right? It's a very simple question. It's a very but it's a very profound question, and it's a question that a lot of people ask in roundabout ways. And it's actually one of the questions, or the answer to a question. If I'm going to do what's that show where you give them the answer and then you ask the question? Jeopardy. Why a lot of people don't detox, they don't fast, and they don't look after their health because they don't have any symptoms. That's the sort of reverse side of the question, is that,
or they don't have the actual condition,
the condition, right?
Diagnosed with anything.
So they don't remove those things from their diet. They don't follow that regimen because, well, I don't have it. And that's really at the crux of a lot of the reasons why so many people have these conditions, or they don't get diagnosed till late. And we've got a question coming up about endometriosis, is that we don't know we're harming ourselves. So we may not have the condition, and hopefully we may never have the condition, but we are eating the foods that can, if not cause that particular condition, cause something else. And so, and which is why we have the electric diet. This is why we have electric food. We have the supplementation, but why we have all the meal plans and the pyramid and everything is because regardless of what your symptoms are, regardless of how you feel right now, if you eat toxic food, right, it's going to cause something in you. Now, it may express itself differently in you as your sister, your twin sister. But the fact of the matter is you can be very lucky and dodge the bullet. But who wants to go through life dodging bullets? Because one's going to hit, So, don't play that game at all. So absolutely, yes, you may not have fibroids, but you will do good to minimize or avoid estrogenic foods, right? You don't want an imbalance in your body, regardless of how well your body quote unquote copes with it, right, Dr. Amsis?
Right.
I guess.
Now, so were you saying that you do experience
she's saying luckily she doesn't.
I did.
Oh,
I did, but once I cut out those foods, right, that are high in estrogen, I don't have that discomfort.
Right.
However, over the Christmas holiday,
you went in.
I did indulge in some foods that I wasn't eating, and on my January cycle, I felt a bit, not as much as it used to be. And I knew that's because I put some things in my body that
cascade.
That is very profound. That's a very, sorry, Vern, to cut you there. And we talked about this before, and it's beautiful how many times these things come up. We talked about doing the detox, the 14, when you remove foods and toxins from your body, and then you start to reintroduce foods. You start to realize things that you eat that have an effect on you. You start to realize when you break out, when you get a cramp, or you get some joint pain. And it's so interesting that you've been on this healthy diet. Then Christmas, you went in on the Mr. Kipling's, and then your January cycle told you shouldn't have had that one extra pie. Do you see what I mean? So our bodies have been telling us things our whole lives, but we're so used to those diets. So anyway, I just wanted to say, I think it's a great thing that you were able to notice that coming off of that, that Christmas.
Having been on is that you use these so
English terms
that no one's gonna get Mr. Kipling's.
You know what Mr. Kipling's is, right? Maybe not.
No.
I
No.
know Mr. Kipling.
What's the equivalent in America? Well, who's the big cake company
I
in
don't
America?
know, man.
Well, Jai, who's the big cake company in America? Who makes all the cakes? Pillsbury.
Pillsbury or what's
Who? Betty Crockett.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Betty Crocker, right? Ain't it Betty
Crocker. Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, right? Again, people go through life and they think I'm doing well, so I'm gonna cheat. It won't harm me if I have this thing, but it could do. So your body gives you warning shots, right? So fibroids, believe it or not, is a warning shot, a pretty severe warning shot that your body is producing tumors. These tumors could well be malignant. So when you get cramps and you get pains, right? Every time when we have pains in our body, it's our body letting us know you messed up, right? You done messed up, right? And what do? We take the ibuprofen or the Tylenol or whatever and keep it moving, not realizing, you just put something in you, or you inhaled something, you ingested something that has had an adverse effect where it's disrupted your body's homeostasis, right? And pain, right, is the, if you can't hear, you must feel, right? Our body puts us through that. So whether it's an ache in the shoulder or, in the stomach, in the uterus, in the head, wherever we have a pain, whenever we have pains, and especially you wake up with a pain, right? Something's wrong when you wake up with a pain, right? Sometimes it might be that you slept, you accidentally slept on one side and the position you was in. All right, I understand that you put pressure on a joint or a nerve got pinched or whatever. That's one thing. But when you have aches and pains within organs, within systems, your body is telling you something chemically has gone wrong. And, you've introduced something into the fray that isn't right.
Right. Maura just made a great point on the chat as well, and saying that endometriosis also causes pain, not just fibroids, of course.
Right.
And this is the thing: the
endometriosis is worse.
It's worse. The problem with fibroids is that fibroids for some people are asymptomatic. They don't cause pain. They're benign. And that's the setup we're often talking about, is that, GYNs are telling people, look, just to monitor fibroids, or we'll monitor them next year when you come back, we'll tell you how big they are. And then they grow, they expand, or they multiply, and the problems, become worse, and then you need an operation. And so, but absolutely, far more pain is derived from endometriosis because of the sheer nature of the disease and what it does to the endometrium. And so absolutely, you may be, and listen, I'm trying to get someone on this call. I've been trying to get them on for some time. We have people now in their late 20s, early 30s, and even older who find out they have had endometriosis. They've had it for years. They've been complaining about the cycle for years. They've been complaining about the pain for years, but they've been told
it's not endometriosis.
It's not endometriosis.
Or it may not be, so we're not going to treat you for this situation.
Right.
Right?
And then one day,
they get
911.
They get diagnosed. Oh, yes, you do have endometriosis, but unfortunately, it's gone so far, you've been scarred so much, right, that you can't have children. So with endometriosis, basically, endometrial tissue is formed grows outside of the uterus, outside of the endometrium, right? And it causes immune response from the body as well. And between the endometrial tissue and the leukocytes, right, it causes scarring. So you have what is known as implants. Implants are basically endometrial tissue that will grow. It might grow on your lungs. It might grow on your liver. your kidneys, you know, in your intestines. It might be in your eyes. It might be in your brain. There are rare times where endometrial tissue grows in the brain, and it causes an inflammatory response, meaning inflammatory cells attack it and release their leukotriene or whatever right? Something that's and it damages tissue. And then there's scarring, lesions, scar tissue, right? And this usually happens during the cycle, during the menstrual cycle, right? When either during or at the latter stage of ovulation before menses, right? When there's an increase in estrogen. So when it comes to, and I think I'm answering the question here that young lady asked. When you diminish the serum estrogen levels and the estrogen around those particular organs and tissue, it actually, you will start to heal. You will start to heal, right? So they tell all these women there's no cure. We don't know a cure for it. If you're endometriosis, you know, you're basically, all we can do is operate if it gets bad, you know, give you a hysterectomy or whatever if you have adenomyosis, right? But they don't deal with the nutrition. So we've had, you know, hundreds of women who have done and this was before we even had the endo detox. This was just with what we called her elimination, which is now the fibroid detox, where their symptoms or their ailment has been reversed. Less scar tissue, you know, the adhesions, lesions, and implants were greatly reduced, where no more pain, and in between that. So it's important that the diet and lifestyle is changed to avoid xenoestrogens, and also the endogenous estrogen that's produced in the body is diminished by way of the nutrients that are, you know, that you feed yourself. You know, that you're feeding yourself nutrients that diminish estrogen and inhibit production of aromatase. You know, and again, epigenetics works like this. Even though we as black people, we have a polymorphism where we express that gene, we can actually, through diet and proper nutrition, switch that gene off. Mm-hmm. We can switch off the gene by correct diet. So when we live a standard American diet, we switch on that, you know, that polymorphism. We switch it on. So when we do, we come in contact with estrogenic substances all day, every day, but it's how our body responds to it. What happens when it gets into the system?
Okay, let me see. Okay, so Mr. Briggs, he understood what I was trying to ask in the roundabout
I understand.
way.
I was only playing with you. I was playing with you, Laverne. I was playing with you.
Okay,
I
thank you.
what you were saying.
You understand in the roundabout way I was trying, because like I like spinach, but I stopped eating spinach because I think that's one of the foods that is that has estrogen in it too.
Has an estrogenic effect, yes.
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 Spinach, right? Yeah, and I'm being tempted to add it back to my diet. That's why I was asking that question. So, because, and also I asked the question because, you know, I deal with people and I'm introducing them and I'm explaining to them as much as I can, as much as I comprehend, understand, you know, why we as people of color, and I would make sure I let them know this is not racist. This is just what it is, that we can consume certain foods because, as you explained, with the estrogen situation. So when I ask this question, because first thing they realize is, oh my God, what can I eat? I can't eat anything. Because, you know, that's how they feel. And me now with my mind, and like my chair said, everything is spiritual. I'm like, you know, this is like the narrow road. Narrow is the road that leads to life, broad is the road that leads to destruction.
Right.
You know, so that's how I look at it. It's like your food choices become so narrow because of the estrogen level and understanding our body. So that's the reason why I asked that question. And I must give this testimony too, because I was really going through before I really got on here with you guys and, you know, actually start switching up my diet and then, you know, taking the supplements. I was 145 pounds and I was going through because I was never like that. Like in 2019, because of course then I work out a lot too. So that helped, you know, with me keeping my weight where I needed and how I wanted to look.
Right.
But I went up and I would, my husband, you know, I prayed and I cried. I'm like, I was working out, but it wasn't doing, and the gym was good, but I was still working and doing whatever at home. And even like in 2020, I ran so much. I was running like you guys, so, you know, you see, I kind of cut out that too, because you explained the running is not that great. I would run so much because my weight was going up. So that's why also I knew something was not right. And I started to figure out, you know, something is probably something hormonal that's going on as I'm getting older. But I'm 130 pounds now. And I'm like, I'm so excited. I haven't done the 14-day fasts yet. But just with the diet change and also doing the intermittent fasting, you know, eating at a certain time, not eating in the morning and so forth. I have, you know, I've come down. I'm like, yes, because this is what I was praying for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I try to explain to people, especially, you know, I'm a believer, Christians, to explain to them, you know, them to understand. When you pray for things, you don't know how it's going to come. And so, like I tell you, not just because I like you guys, I'm on here, because I can line up what you're saying. But when I go to my belief and my Bible and I read and I see things, I can line. It's like and it blows my mind. And it makes me more excited about my faith, because I'm like, this is lined up exactly with what this is saying. So, thank you. And last question before I get off here with the questions. For my son, he can take more than 3 times a day, right?
Yes.
His subs, because he needs to recover faster. So as I was thinking,
he can take it 6-7 times a day. Why? Because it's food.
Yeah, and that's going to speed up his recovery, right?
Right.
Okay.
As well. So and just to go back to your other point, whenever you hear somebody say, boy, I can't eat anything, when you start telling them about all the stuff they can't eat, it's because everything them eat, everything them yam is bad. Everything bad. That is a sign. You know what? Everything you're eating is bad. If you're telling me you can't eat anything, right? Because there's a world of food that we can eat. Think about how much plant are on this planet, how many fruits.
You know what? And I don't want to get in trouble, because I often say this, and I want to say this carefully. I think for us and for myself, it is discipline. And it's because I also have that, you know, I developed that spiritual discipline too, with the help of that. And also because coming from the Caribbean, I think because I'm used to fruits. I'm used to the certain type of food. For me, it was easier for me to go back to that. I didn't grow up on a bunch of sweets and, you know, these stuff on the shelf. And of course, I'm older. I grew up on home cooked food, everything from scratch. You know, even when we bought snacks from the person who sold snacks, that person bought those things fresh and put it together and cook it, and we went to buy our snacks. So we didn't have like drinks and pop and chips in the bag and all. We didn't have those things. So for me, you know, like going back to that, and then we had a thing that we said candy. Older people did not eat candy. Candy was for children. Kids eat candy, and that's a fact.
And you know,
so I think because of that background that I have, I think that helps me too. And because we're used to the fruits and the foods, that the coconut water and all of that, I think that's going to make it easier for me to be able to do it, rather than some people that grew up in the West. That's how I say it.
Right. And you know what? I was talking to a patient the other day, right? And she lives in Australia. And she was telling me that when she bites, I said, you know, she makes smoothies every morning. So I was like, all right, you're using fresh fruit though, right? You're not using frozen fruit. She was like, oh, no, I buy frozen, right? So I said, okay, just as an experiment, how much do you pay for your frozen fruit? it was like $13 for a pound. So I said, okay, like $13 for a pound of berries, right? How much does it cost per pound when you buy those fresh? Like $2.80. So I was like, look at that. They've added $10 just because they froze it.
And they cut it up or whatever.
And put it in a plastic, in a plastic sinting, right? And put it in the freezer. Now you're paying money for that, where you can just buy, you could buy 6 of those or 4 or 5 of those for the same price. So it means that you don't have to freeze it to preserve it. You can go and buy them fresh. So, it's what we consume and how it's prepared as well. Preparation is also key. So because, it's like, all right, I got purple potatoes, but I'm going to deep fry it to make some fries. It's like, no, don't do that. Don't turn this good food into a toxin by, sinking it into, immersing it into saturated fats. And that's the thing, we when you go into a lot of stores, they will have purple potato chips, right? And it's the other ingredients what they add. It's the process that they use, which can create the acrylamide and now make it carcinogenic because of how it, what temperature it was heated to. So it's the quality of food that we get. And that's where we start, when we start fine-tuning stuff like, all right, I eat all fruits. Okay, are they all seeded though? I don't know. I went the Cab Farmers Market, bought a whole bunch of organic lemons a few days ago, and I felt so good, with my bag of lemons. Got home, cut the thing open, there were no seeds. No seeds.
Same thing in my organic store.
So I yammed that one.
Vexing it, mad.
I squeeze it, you see. I said, I'm finishing this one. But that was it for me. I had to, I haven't been back yet. So I've been without lemons for the whole week, right? Then it's a matter of, right, if it's seedless, it's GMO, right? Then there's, all right, if something is organic or not. So if you ever buy fruits and they're not organic, most of them are going to either go white, they'll froth up, grow beards and whatever, grow an afro or Don King afro, or they turn putrid, they dissolve, right? Where that happens that's going to happen in you when those compounds are broken down. They're going to go back to spores, right? So there are spores, harmful spores that live in foods that you think, man, when somebody eats fruits and say, man, whenever I eat fruit, I bloat. All right, either you got parasites or the fruit you're eating is bad quality, is GMO or it's conventionally grown and you're basically eating pesticides and fertilizers that are full of all kinds of craziness, right? So it's the quality of food. But when somebody turns around and says, I can't eat anything. It's like, that's why with our detoxes, we have the meal plans to show people these are the foods you can eat. Here's a list of foods that you can eat. And it's not an exhausted list.
Laverne, you actually answered both your questions beautifully. One, both of them with your testimony, right, of how your health was, and then January you did the Mr. Kipling's and the Pittsburgh, whatever it was.
No, I didn't.
And then you felt the Pillsbury. Then you had the January effects, and then you talked about what is really social conditioning. Think about this. Why? Can I use the word they? I'm going to say they, right? Them people. They work so hard to condition us from a very young age to rely on processed food, right? They condition our parents to rely on processed food. We are babysat by processed food. I don't know how many of you guys had parents that work, 2-3 jobs.
From birth, if you're on Gerber.
Formula, all the way to your adult life. They go to work, listen, your dinner's in the fridge, peel the label off, put it in the microwave or put it in the oven, 7 minutes, ding, and there's your dinner. We grew up with that level of convenience. fruits and vegetables are just things that, I don't know, you get at fancy restaurants, right? It's the stuff the school gives you when they can't afford the apple crumble. We're not conditioned to see our fruits and vegetables and you know, cereals and grains, the ones that are healthy for us, as being our food and our medicine. So, Laverne, it's not to beat yourself up because, you know, you've been making all these wrong choices all your life. You have been conditioned. It's a form of social conditioning. That is what you know. You know, there are, goodness gracious, you know, I was telling you what it's like in Ghana now with this Endomi, this ramen noodle craze that's going on in Africa right now. Some Chinese companies have gone to Africa and they've introduced basically ramen noodles to Africa. And it's the biggest craze in Africa now because you just add hot water. Well, of course, Africans are cooking it like it's a whole soup, but it's the biggest thing now. It's cheap. It comes in a packet form. The portions are always the same. And so that convenience is being drummed into people. And Ghana, for example, is one of those places you can't starve in Ghana. You'd have to be absolutely on the bottom of the poverty to starve because food is literally abundant. Right. It's everywhere. Fruits, vegetables, whatever, it's everywhere. But what it is, they're conditioning people now to want to buy processed food. Now you can't afford food. The food is on the tree, but you want the packaged, processed.
You want the package. You want the United States stuff. You want the
imported,
the Del Monte.
There you go. So Laverne, and you know, I know sometimes Dr. Amster, I talk to him all the time. We go to counseling and I tell him, listen, bro, you can't beat people up all the time, you know. You have to realize that we have been...
Spare not the rod, man.
Spare not the rod.
Not the rod. Beat them till they learn.
Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. We have been socially conditioned.
Like I said, I deal with people, you know, and I have to, sometimes you explain to them, you have to answer their questions. So for them to understand, quick, because the lemon thing that you just mentioned, I experienced that because we get ready to start out fast. And I'm going to get out of here just in a little bit and go get my lemons. And I get lemons, it's not organic, but they have seeds, and that's the ones I use. But so it's better to have, I would say, the non-organic with seeds than the organic without seeds.
You know what? It's yes and no. Depends. Again, it depends on, because if you all right, so. Can I talk about the gender bending thing,
no,
Mikey?
Depends what you say. Depends how you say it.
We've got how I say it.
We've got the dump button.
All right. So I might get cancelled. This might be the last show, everybody. Right? But there are in fertilizer and in pesticides, there are gender bending materials, chemicals. So what we're seeing as a result is where LGBTQ, the alphabet army, are growing. They're growing at an exponential rate. The seed was planted, literally, right? Or unless it was seedless, right? But the Monsanto seeds and all the fertilizers, all the pesticides, they contain endocrine disrupting chemicals that alter the way we are sexually oriented, right? Sexual orientation has been altered by the foods, by the chemicals in the food, and we're seeing the fallout of it right now. So even if you have seeded fruit, depends on what chemicals were. It starts with an AZ, the chemical that guy we looked it up one time. You got it in your notes somewhere. As there you go.
Azodicarbonamine. No,
one of these that start with azo. One of those ones.
Hold on.
Right? There was a PhD in California found out, and it was the frogs in a lake, where there was a downstream from a farm. The frogs turned homosexual. Some of the male frogs turned into female frogs. So it was like, wait a minute. Then he noticed, they did experiment and noticed that the fish, it was going on with the fish too, in this lake. And when he published his findings, right, he started getting death threats and that. So a lot of this is by design because, the Georgia Guidestones, which is in, which part of Georgia is it in?
Something north, isn't it? Somewhere?
Where's the Georgia Guidestones? Anyway, sorry everybody, my phone, I forgot to silence it today, right? But there's an agenda, a global agenda to reduce the world's population. And one of the methods of that is still seeing your arm. And silence me as well. Silence me as well. Talk about, you know what? I'll just finish this. I'll also go and silence it. There's an agenda, and you know, like I'm saying, this might be the last show, everybody.
No.
But there's an agenda to reduce the world's population, and Planned Parenthood was part of it. The pharmaceutical industry with birth control is part of it. And the homosexuality is the other part of it. And then wars, and, you know, deprivation and sanctions to starve people out and whatnot, right? So there's many agendas, and there's a report, the NSSM 200, right, which was Henry Kissinger and others, right? The National Security Study Memorandum 200, which was the tail end of the 60s and early 70s, that report was done, which was the National Security Agency basically produced this document, which was about the threat, the international threat, and it was the world's population being too high, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear Bill Gates and other people, you know, there's an agenda by oligarchs, by elites, that they want to reduce the world's population. And right here where we live in Georgia, there's a place where they have the Georgia Guidestones, and the Georgia Guidestones is this monolith kind of. It's almost like what's the place in Stonehenge? It's almost like Stonehenge, right? I think it was erected in like the 80s or 90s, and in it they have the same thing written, like a code of 10 maxims, and it's written in English, Arabic, Phoenician, cuneiform, you know, many different languages, and the top one was to reduce the Earth's population, or maintain the Earth's population at 500,000. No, I got that wrong. 500 million, sorry. 500 million. 500,000, that's everybody. 500 million. This is on, and no one's, they know who it is, but no one's sure who did it. What group is responsible for it, right? So there's an agenda going on. So when you, and I know I've gone way off tangent, we were just talking about lemons, right, and seeds. But the point is, when it comes to conventionally grown produce, you have to be extremely careful, right? Because when I was growing up, there was like 3 homosexuals, 1 lesbian and 2 gay dudes per, you know, in Northwest, where we grew up. Maybe they didn't come out. They were scared, but there was a few, very few, a handful. Now, in literally every family, there's a handful per family. And it's because of what's been eaten. It's what we breathe in. And it's having an effect, an epigenetic effect. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that's developed by switching certain genes off, switching certain genes on. But anyways, so it is one of those things where it doesn't have seeds. Man, am I going to eat this thing? Or do I go and get something with seeds that's poison? And it's poison through every cell of the of the produce.
Okay.
You know, so there's things that are grown in trees, right? When something grows on a tree, if it's seeded and it's not organic, it might be better than something that grows in the ground.
Okay.
You
So
know-
lemons grows on trees.
Right, lemons grow on trees. Right.
So Keela has come on, I think, because she was sharing about atrazine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Laverne.
That's it, Keela. Thank you very much. Because this guy, you're fired.
I'm not cancelled though, so I'll be on here next week, guys, with maybe 3 of you.
Atrazine. That's it.
Dr. Keela. It must be
Hi.
cold where you are. You're wearing your zip up parka.
Yes, it's 27 degrees.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Wow.
Never heard of it.
Fahrenheit. Just briefly, it's not just the atrazine, but also the endocrine disruptors in, I always thought it was suspect. Why are they pushing marijuana so much? But
right.
it's the endocrine disruptors in both the smoke as well as in the THC.
THC. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so what they do is they inhibit the aromatase. So how should I say? Essentially, prepubescent males don't complete puberty. So if you notice, a lot of the millennials, they look like their grandfathers, where they're very doughy. And a lot of the 20-year-olds look very underdeveloped compared to when I was in my 20s or even in my teens.
Right.
They don't have the muscle mass that their fathers and grandfathers had.
Right.
They really look like French fries. And then the girls tend to be really either overly developed or they have like this metabolic syndrome. Yeah, metabolic syndrome looking kind of physique, or they look really androgynous. And so when you hear people say, oh, they drink and they smoke, I'm like, you might as well chemically castrate yourself, because the alcohol is going to make it so that you can't get rid of the estrogen. And then the weed is going to increase the estrogen in your body. It's going to be estrogen mimetic between the THC and the smoke. So it's going to effeminize the males and masculinize the females. So it's not even rocket science to understand why PCOS is up, endometriosis is up, adenomyosis is up, fibroids is up. I mean, when I was younger, it was just birth control that would give you the fibroids, and even then they didn't tell us that. But now you look at the 20-year-olds and you're like, how in the world are these people going to reproduce? They don't even, people don't understand that men's whole endocrine system is tuned to a female voice if they're heterosexual. It tends to, and I've noticed this between friends of mine that have deeper voices and those of us who have higher voices. You watch a man's whole body, his musculature relax when he hears female singers, when he hears women with higher pitched voice. But when he hears a woman that has a huskier voice, he's a little on the tense, because it does something to the nervous system and the endocrine system. It's the same as when women hear men with deep voices. I remember that when my father used to have to conduct business over the phone, it was always easier to conduct business over the phone if the other person on the end was female, because they were very, they made whatever business process a lot easier, and they always commented on his voice. Now, I don't understand why so many millennial and younger, they talk about toxic masculinity. I'm like, wait a minute, back up. When did it become toxic? I mean, what are y'all eating that this
Go
is
ahead, say that. That foolishness is going on.
It's foolishness. And then the other piece is to get the fruit seedless, they put manganese disruptors in there, like colchicine.
Yeah.
So if you take a wild type fruit, introduce colchicine at just before the time is supposed to develop its own seed from the male part of the plant, and the female part of the plant is not going to produce seeds, and they mate that chemically treated one with a wild type. So you end up getting a plant that goes to near maturity, but it's not sexually mature.
Right.
It's like they have the way female humans are born and female mammals are born. We're born with all of our oocytes, but they are not in the mature stage until we hit puberty.
Right.
Well, in a plant chemically treated with anything that robs it of manganese, it's like it's a whole plant.
It's sterilization.
Right. It's sterilization from the time that the plant is in its plant womb.
Right.
So it's like if you're going to eat that, you're going to be manganese deficient too.
Right. There you go.
And you're not going to develop properly.
And think about this. Think about this, that in Genesis 2 verse 9. Genesis 2 verse 9. Way that it's stated, do not only eat fruits that produce of themselves, have seeds. This didn't make any sense until 1960s. Until the 1960s. Something that was early in the Bible in Genesis didn't make sense until the 1960s. So Genesis was actually speaking to our generation.
It had happened before though, because there are books in scripture that are not readily available,
right?
Like the book of Enoch, and you find out exactly why the flood was necessary. Is because of stuff like this, where they're corrupting creation. We didn't have pigs before. We had boars. We didn't have cows. We had oxen.
Oxes, right?
It's like, where did the cow and the pig come from?
Yeah, they've been crossbreeding and genetically they again. Look around every time you say that. For decades, for hundreds of years, and there are practices that aren't necessarily, I can't say they're all bad, but we know that in modern times, the way it's being done and the reasons it's being done, breeding animals that are, 5 times the size they should have been naturally. And again, playing with the manganese and other things is what's passing through to humans. One thing I want to talk about, and I got some Jamaicans on the call, and I got the pretend Jamaican next to me. Who on the call can tell me about the chicken pill? You guys know what the chicken pill is, right? So the chicken pill is a hormonal pill that they give. It's a substance they give to chickens to make chickens fat. Okay. In Jamaica, it was discovered that by taking this hormone pill, it gives you booty and breasts. They call it chicken pill. So women that wanted to get hips and booty would take this chicken pill. They started dying. I'm doing some research on it. Nadira was asking about marijuana, secondary smoke.
Okay.
Nadira, you there? Oh, I thought you were there.
All right. Yes. Hello. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I in conjunction with the question, the information that you're giving, I was wondering, can you get the estrogenic effects, even if it's just like secondhand smoke, like somebody smoking marijuana around you daily and you're inhaling it daily
blatantly?
Can you still?
Yes. If you're inhaling it, like whether you have the blunt or the spliff or whatever at your mouth, right? The burning substance is what that person inhales. Now, if that smoke floats around and you're inhaling it, you're inhaling the same, pardon my French, you're inhaling the same shit as them.
Yeah.
It might not be as concentrated because you're not at the source, but when something's burning, it is emitted. It fills a room. So you're going to be breathing it in. So, what's going on right now with the phenomena of, and there was a something that was released just this week about cannabinoids, right? Cannabinoids, two specific cannabinoids that bind to the coronavirus, right? That bind to the spike proteins or whatever to the coronavirus, and they basically released a report saying, marijuana may prevent you from getting COVID-19, right? Now, in the first paragraph of the report, it made sure to say, not if you smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
only if it's drunk. If you drink it, right?
You drink it.
Only if you drink it, right? But there's been memes going around social media of all these weed heads rejoicing about, yeah, you see, weed is good for you. No, when you smoke it, it's not good for you. Cannabis and marijuana are great for you in its natural form if you drink it, if you eat it, right? In its natural form. It's highly medicinal. We've always known this. It's when you smoke it, you alter the chemistry, and now it becomes an adverse, all the properties become adverse chemicals, right? But now, with all this THC, where THC levels have been amplified by 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 times what it used to be, right? So in normal cannabis sativa or in indica, right, the normal THC levels is less than 1%. It's between 0.1% and 1%, right? So now when you have these strains and you're dealing with 50% THC, not only have you reduced to make room for 50% of THC, you've now omitted or cut out other medicinal properties which balance that plant to give you its proper medicinal constituents and nutrients for your body. You've now increased the thing that causes psychosis, because that's the psychological aspect, that you will start to hear voices, you will start imagining things, you will start to become anxious and depressed, right? So this whole legalization of weed, there is another agenda too that goes with it. So we there's again, and the effeminization and the masculinization of women. So all of these things are playing part and parcel to an agenda to reduce the world's population, but also get niggas off the street. Because if you're sanctioned because you're gonna do lally, because you're hearing voices and stuff, a doctor can get you locked up. A doctor can sign a note and you're locked up, restricted from seeing people.
Nemo Nash was saying CBDA and CBGA.
CBGA, right. CBDA and CBGA.
The two you were looking for there. And it was arsenic. I completely forgotten that they feed chickens arsenic.
Right.
Because arsenic increases the appetite. So chickens basically just keep eating when they put the food in front of them. Because before, chickens would eat when their stomach is full, they would stop. They give them arsenic and they keep eating. So women were taking arsenic pills, basically, so they would keep eating. And there are other elements within what they give to chickens as well in terms of hormones that would send the weight to their hips, to the bottom and to the breast. And again, of course, high levels of arsenic not only cause side effects,
but here's the thing: why would women all of a sudden feel a need to become more voluptuous or whatever? Is because they're androgynous, because of the foods and the smoking and whatever they're doing have made them androgynous, where they now need this outside tool to get breasts and back,
to re-effeminate them. Yeah,
and also what that does as well.
Yeah,
right. Women who are doing the shortcut of the BBLs or taking the chicken pills, it makes them obese because they put on fat. It's not muscle.
Yeah,
they're not putting muscle on. They're putting on fat. So you get women who look small and they're shapely, but it's all fat, and they're actually clinically obese. Their BMI is above 30.
Yeah. So listen, guys, brilliant conversation, brilliant debate. I know, I'm sure there are people sitting on several sides of the round fence, but the fact of the matter is that regardless of where we believe or don't believe the source of this information or the effects on the human population are coming from, it's happening. We're seeing it. We're all suffering it. you know, whether or not you feel, believe, or want to believe it, you know, our kids are suffering this. You know, girls are getting younger and younger and getting PCOS and fibroids and endometriosis younger and younger. Something's happening. Something's changing. Now, I don't think Dr. Amps is suggesting that there was never cancer in the old days or there was never, you know, these conditions. Remember, we have natural elements.
Not in Jamaica.
Specifically,
no cancer in Jamaica.
How long? Listen, all right, we'll get there. You know, there are natural elements in nature, of course, that if you're exposed to in high volumes are carcinogenic. We know this. What's happening with industrialization, that they're taking these elements out of the ground, enhancing them, and putting them everywhere, all over your home, from your paint, your wallpaper, whatever covers your chairs, your clothes, your sneakers, your socks, your belt, your contact lenses, your glasses, your gloves, the stuff you put on your skin. It's everywhere. They're taking carcinogens out of the ground. They're taking poisons out of the ground and wherever they're making it from, pulling them out of their natural environment where they were balanced, unbalancing them, and putting them into the products that you use every day. This is having an epigenetic effect. So that, you know, Dr. Hampson, we're discussing there are two types of memory in your cells, right? So there's the genes you inherit from your parents, which have been passed down for literally millennia, millions of years probably, right? So that is your, I guess, your blueprint, right?
Right.
Now your blueprint says, okay, have at it. Feed me the right food, put me in the right environment, and I will build you this best representation of this blueprint. However, you feed me crap, you feed me poison, I can't build the best representation of this blueprint.
These you know, the substitutes.
Substitutes. Okay, so, you know, where I should be eating mango or whatever, and you're feeding me genetically modified kiwis, I can't process that and switch on the genes that, there you go.
Right.
And so, listen, this is, you know, you don't want to hear from Dr. Amsu, myself, or anyone else, even Dr. Keeler on the call. And I hate people say this, but sometimes you have to tell them, go and do your own research. If you don't believe, just literally Google. Even Google will tell you this. And we believe Google's trying to hide a bunch of stuff. So even Google will tell you epigenetics are real. You know, we have an example some time ago, like, in fact, I'll give you my own example. So my brother and I are a year apart. You know, we were raised like twins, right? And when we were born, my mum and dad were going back and forth between Ghana and England. Like literally 1 year we're here, next year we were back. He was born in Ghana a year after me being born in London. I'm telling you, there are blatant differences between my brother and I, and same parents, a year apart, okay? And I've seen this expressed across tons of people that I know who have people that, the sister was born in Jamaica and the other sister was born in London or America.
Right.
They are not the same. And what epigenetics tells us is that whilst the mother is pregnant, all of the things she's imbibing, all of the things she's inhaling, all of the environmental factors go towards breeding, feeding, and nurturing the baby in the womb. And so the ones you experience in Jamaica and Ghana are different to the ones you experience in the UK, even dead skin and dead hair. You see,
right,
and dust particles. So kids that are raised in environments, in one environment by the exact same parents will be different from kids raised in another environment. If you don't want any more proof, just look right there. Epigenetics are real. So all of this BS food we're eating, all of this crap we're drinking, all the stuff we're imbibing, putting on our skins, in our hair, is changing us. You see, people, is it the mutants? You know, Spider-Man, the spider bit him and he turned into something else. People don't believe that because it's impossible, right? It's magic. The fact of the matter is, there are amino acids and chemicals that if they come in contact with the body tries to metabolize them. It changes your epigenetics and start to switch genes on and off. Why? Because your genes go to your proteins and amino acids for instruction. When they change, the genes change.
Right.
Okay. So this isn't pseudo.
Go ahead, Doctor. Like when we were growing up, there was a bunch of B movies that used to come out, B-rate movies, and it was always about
space,
the mad scientist,
right? You're right.
Scientist that with that German type of Belgian accent. Oh, if I take this and I
Professor von Crazy
I isolate this gene, I could control the world, right? Those guys, right? They made it so sinister that you'd think, all right, this is how the mad scientist or the evil scientist is gonna behave. They're gonna be this guy. But no, they're well educated.
They ride the train,
mild-tempered,
right next to
sit next to ride the train next to you, and they're isolating molecules that will, if we isolate this particular gene or this particular molecule, and it's administered, and they breed mice for the purpose of, not having to experiment on humans, right? They find, all right, this has created homosexuality, this has created blindness, this has created depression, this has created all these different things, and trust that every imaginable outcome, there are white papers, there are studies, there are experiments that have taken place where somebody knows what they're doing, and then other scientists may stumble across it during that. We found such and such. So even with this whole gain of function situation with viruses, right? Gain of function. How can we make this virus more deadly, more virulent, right? And 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when this all started, somebody was like, it may have come from that, or it came from that Wuhan lab. And now just this week, emails have been revealed that they knew that the guys who were making the reports, they were like, man, I'm 70-30 that this was made. This is not natural. I'm 60-40. Oh, I'm 50-50. Now we need to bury that. And they buried it. That everything lined up so perfectly. Everything lined up so perfectly that nature couldn't have done that. Nature could not have done that. But then when people were saying it, they were accused of being conspiracy theorists, and people repeating it were the conspiracy parrots and all that. Lo and behold, the conspiracy theorists were actually right. And now man's in denial now,
right?
Being pressured.
It was ever said, yeah.
And not answering questions that's laid before them. So this is the type, and Fauci, Anthony Fauci, is a rational guy. He ain't erratic. He don't have that mad twitch. He ain't got that twitch of a mad scientist, right? Very mild-mannered, mild-tempered, nice guy. But what's he hiding? The whole world's been shut down, and this is the thing. There's still a level of deniability that he knew nothing about it. And, we did not fund gain of function in Wuhan. We did not. But you find, well, somebody did. You knew about such and such. And this is what we're dealing with. And it's not just about the virus. It's everything. Black women having fibroids. Do you think that's an accident? An endometriosis. There's foods that is put onto the shelves of supermarkets that they know are going to cause disease so that the pharmaceutical industry can sell us their drugs. So the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, they're working in cahoots. They're working together. And they're trying to, deplete the soil of minerals so that we can't grow, right? They have come up with codes and ordinances that before you could just have a garden where you could grow your own stuff. Now you have to get a license. Go to the local government and they can say, no, you can't. But I don't trust anything else. No, you can't. You need a farmer's license, and you have to do this, and you have to pay this amount of money if you're going to do this. Right? So the whole system is rigged to create illness, to create dysfunction, so that they can, minimize the world's population. And this is the thing. Knowing that the nation of Islam is really pushing the NSSM 200. So I say, look, black people, wake up. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. And because we've become desensitized over the years, right? When black people are now speaking, we don't want to hear what black people's got to say no more. Because, man, there's so many organizations. He was a fraud. That weren't true. Now when you know, they've actually striked now, you know, the so-called, whether you want to call it the Illuminati or the oligarchs, the secret societies, now they're actually making their move. And they're making their move now because it's right. Because niggas ain't trying to listen to niggas no more. We want to follow the science. And the scientists are the science. Fauci, I am science. No, you ain't. You're a man. You're corruptible. You've been bought. Or maybe you're not even bought. You might be the ringleader. The source.
Master villain. Well, listen, you got this man on his soapbox. You know,
I'm gonna get cancelled properly, right?
Yeah, shut the whole thing down. You know, burn down the place. But listen, great conversation, man. There are no more questions, so I guess look, we can keep talking about Fauci. But listen, this is Fibroid Fridays, and it's a great segue.
Fauci Friday now.
Fauci Friday, yeah. But you know, the bottom line, this all stems from a question. You know, Laverne was asking really about. If we're not having symptoms, should we still? She didn't ask it in this way. I'm paraphrasing, of course. If you don't have a specific condition or we don't have symptoms, you know, should we still, you know, be eating in a way to avoid those things? And of course, the answer is absolutely yes. And is it hard for us to do that? In some places, absolutely. In some places, not so hard. It's information. Once you have the information, you know where to look. You know what to look for. You know what to do. When you don't have the information, it becomes daunting. You know, we talked about, you know, I remember when I was in school and we learned mathematical quantitative. The first time I saw it, I'm sure I burst into tears. It made no sense to me. I mean, it literally, you know, some things you can kind of figure out. If you stare long enough at the board, you can figure it out. This was like, it was crypto craziness. Okay.
It's like you had dyslexia when you're looking at the board.
You know, deer in the headlights. I'm staring at the board. I'm thinking, I know it's going to come. It didn't come because it had to be explained.
And the teacher was there with the cane and everything.
What are you talking about? Standing right behind me, I felt the shadow, you know, the cool from the heat. But once it was explained, the penny dropped. Okay, now I was informed. Still didn't pass, but I had a good time trying to pass quantitative at school. The fact of the matter is that, you know, we've been groomed our whole lives to think and act a certain kind of way. We hear about this new concept and it's very daunting. And a lot of us just drop the baton and run off because it's just too much to handle. We're so much into our comfort zone. And only a few of us, maybe at the beginning, will have the discerning mind to say, hold on a second, there is some truth to this. Because especially the mothers. Why mothers? Because mothers are seeing the impact on their children. And mothers who've grown up in families, right? And then they have their own family saying, hold on, yeah, me, my sisters and my brothers didn't experience this. Why are these kids experiencing this? I mean, no, it's the food. And then they tell you it's the food. They put whole documentaries, even on CNN, telling you it's the food. It's the color and Takis. They tell you. And we still buy them, you see. And so it's very much a social conditioning. But once, you know, people like Dr. Amsu and, you know, Great Black Detox, Select Your Food, all these organizations and other people out there, I'm not going to say we're the only ones, give you that information. Now it comes down to you. And that was the third part of your comment, Laverne. I didn't mention, I want to go back to. You're talking about prayer. And prayer comes in so many guises, whether it's meditation or, you know, or actually praying and asking and manifestation. And there are so many ways it's used and it's done. But the fact of the matter is, no matter how much you pray or you want to manifest or you meditate, if you want to move something physically, the laws of physics apply. You have to physically move that thing. Now, I will say, look, no amount of prayer is going to physically move that bottle. Someone's going to argue me, yes, it will. You know, I'll say, you know what, race, right? You pray, I use my hand. I'll put all my money every single time that me using my hand is going to move that because I know the laws of physics. And so what I'm saying is that absolutely use prayer, absolutely use meditation, absolutely use whatever spiritual, metaphysical mechanisms you use to get yourself in that zone. But you have to act. What did they say? Prayer without actions is dead. Prayer without deeds is dead. You have to act. No amount of prayer is going to stop Walmart selling poison toxin food. You have to stop going there. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's holistic. We say it's holistic. You got to use all these things. But key to this is information. And we apologize, I guess, if this is too much for a lot of people. It's too daunting again. But this is the reality we live in. You know, I was watching a documentary on the Second World War, and they started bombing London. The Nazis were bombing London. Imagine you're at home in your bed, and then bang, literally your whole world gets turned upside down. Your house blows up, or the side of your house blows up. And now, you see the pictures of the house where the side of the house is gone. You can see people's bathroom and their bedroom. So imagine you're in your bath and the side of the house blows up, and now you're naked in the street. Your life changes on a dime. And then the next day they say, well, because of the bombing, the stores are closed. You can no longer get access to food. Because of the bombing, we've had to turn the water off and the electricity. So there's no heat. It's winter. So literally on a dime, your life can change. And that's what's happening.
Right.
For me, when I really start to get back, we've been on this for a very long time. But as in recent years, I really sort of sat down and started reading again and understanding, wait, what exactly is going on? What is really happening? And it's because I had kids. And every time my kid had an eczema breakout or a rash, and I think, man, what is it me? What did I feed them? Aha, it's the Pop-Tart, or it's the trifle, And then you start to read the ingredients, and you look at ingredient strawberry yogurt, and it has 74 ingredients. 74 ingredients in a yogurt.
Play. They make it sound like it's a kiddie thing. Like, give this to your kids, play. And it's some big man thing.
74 ingredients.
Right.
In a fruit parfait. This is the world we're living in, folks. So yeah, again, it may be frightening to some people. And some of you on this call, like Laverne, like Dr. Keeler, are out there helping people get over this.
They build a lot of prisons here in the South. Mm-hmm. The worst diets are here in the South. The most obesity, the most diabetes. They know by feeding certain foods, they're going to create violent criminals.
Look at that.
So they build the prisons down here. They know up north, let's make the buildings tall to keep the sun.
Yep.
The sun ain't going to get through all this shade. And it's going to make people go stir crazy. It's going to have people more anxious, more on edge, more cortisol, more adrenaline.
Well, we hear about
So when you're up north, you can't tell somebody what's up. Yo, what's up, man? Nigga, what do you mean? Like, what's up, nigga? You see what I'm saying? They're ready to, they're on edge. But there are certain things that's being done to promote and to make money and to gain more power and control. More power and control. So, us with Great Black Detox, it's not just about, us talking about nutrition. It's everything. Everything that, whether we are talking about prayer or meditation or exercise or, your financial situation, whatever it is, it's about everything, the whole sphere of information to make life better quality of life, So if we've offended anybody during this episode, Mike is going to apologize for his outspokenness.
My rude outbreak. Yeah. Dr. Keeler, can you set this man straight, please? No, you're another ringleader. You're going to just stoke the fire.
No, I just had a quick question because I've been reading a lot about polyphenols. And one of the things, because before I went into medicine, I was in research, and before research, or chem major. And one of the things I noticed about the polyphenols, their structure is like melanin. So I've never seen it in the medical literature, but being that they have that resonant structure to them, where they can hold a lot of charge and still be stable.
Right.
Could it be said that they function similarly to melanin? Well,
there's a series of books called the melanotrophic peptides, right? Extremely expensive. 15 years ago, I bought 2 out of the 3, right? And in the second book, in the second of the series, it speaks about polyphenols, the comparison or the similarities in structure between polyphenols and melanin, and the conductivity, right? And this is why the best foods for us to eat as melanated people are fruits, hands down. Because we're actually, it's like, I was talking the other day about human blood and chlorophyll, right? That you replace one molecule, you substitute iron for magnesium, and you have chlorophyll. So when we eat plants, we're actually enriching our blood. We're enriching our blood without being cannibal, without being cannibals, right? And why us eating blood of animals is not good for us. The blood of other animals is not good for us. So we're supposed to stick to plant-based foods. It's the best nutrients. It's the best chemicals. There's a synergy. There's a symbiotic relationship between us and plants. We breathe out carbon dioxide, they breathe it in. They breathe out oxygen, we breathe that in. So we were meant to be, that's a marriage of man and plant, and animals and plant. But there are animals that eat other animals, predatory, predators and whatnot. But we are not natural predators. We've become
The
so.
reason I asked, I'm sorry. I'm going to just ask this quickly. The reason I asked is because when I was in graduate school and we were studying embryology, they would always talk about ionic gradients determining, like the electrical current determines the establishment of scaffolding proteins on which cells aggregate and become tissues.
Right.
But then I had to think, what is directing the aggregation and the flow of ions, of positive, negative charge? It will have to be something electromagnetic. And then I remember them, because they don't connect every dot for you, but I remember when I got into medical school, they talked about the importance of folate, and I always thought, well, I remember all my aunts who grew up overseas, including my mother who grew up overseas, saying they ate a lot of fruits when they were pregnant because it kept down the nausea, but they just overall felt better. And then it dawned on me that perhaps in the same way that the polyphenols in the fruit stabilize electrical charge, stabilize the chromatin, the DNA, the packaging of the DNA.
Right.
In the same way that they support melanin. So it would make sense why early in pregnancy and before pregnancy, you actually have to eat those 5 and 6 fruits a day, because you're supporting the melanin that is going to direct ionic flow. It's like when people do certain manicures, there are iron molecules in the paint that when you put a magnet, it creates a design, it creates a pattern, and that pattern has a structure. So that's why I know it's a reach from cosmetology to molecular biology, but it's the same science.
Right.
So
Now,
that's why I asked, because I can't find literature other than what you mentioned to me. I can't find any literature that strikes the comparison that pretty much one supports the other. You're the first
there's so
person
much.
who's
There are
actually
so much. There's a plethora of literature that's out there, but it's not advertised as such, and they're so expensive. The melanotrophic peptides. We're talking about probably worth $2,500, and the books it's like 150 pages, $2,500. So it's like, what? All right, uncle, send me some money. All right, here's the money for the term, and it's gone on one book. Your 2 months rent gone on one book. So there's so much information that's out there, and here's another disadvantage that we have as black people. Like, you've had an epiphany of, I'm connecting a dot here, but imagine you had the resource, you had the money to now go and do research. where, you know, I'm going to look into this. That's where we've fallen short, is because we don't have the resource or the time, because, you know, when we're at med school, it's like, all right, do I have enough money for food? So I have to go get myself a part-time job. Having a part-time job means I don't have time to do all my, you know, I ain't got as much time to ponder on homework or whatever. I don't have so much time to prepare and do such and such. So there's those pressures, right? And, you know, going back to something that you were saying, in ancient times, women would prepare for pregnancy. They would actually prepare by certain dietary practices, you know, eating specific foods to help with their fertility, and also, you know, their ability to carry a pregnancy, and that. Men would prepare by certain foods they would eat so that they would yield the best quality genes, right? Being switched on for their progeny, right? What happens now is, oops, or yeah, she got pregnant. You know, man's got his head down. What's wrong? Man, my girl got pregnant, innit? I mean, she got pregnant. You know, it's more time it's an accident, unless now what's going on, where black women are becoming more sterile, right? They're losing fertility and fecundity. So now we're preparing. Now we have to prepare, because we can't have children unless, you know, what's your sperm count? And that's another thing with weed and that. Sperm count. With smoking. Right? A lot of people are vaping and e-cigarettes and all that. Men, it's causing erectile dysfunction. So you got men under the age of 30 who smoke, who are e-cigaretting and vaping and stuff, right? And they can't get an erection. They can't maintain an erection. So we're being bombarded by all these things for the purpose of stopping reproduction, inhibiting reproduction. And we have to wake up as black people. And do we agree? Because I'm sure there are some black people somewhere, right, who, yeah, the world is overpopulated. We need to get rid of X amount. You know, we can't feed the planet. There's not enough food on the planet. There's not enough resources for everybody. But you guys have to pay attention to these nature programs where they're talking about the ecology of the sea and the ecology of the land. All the aquatic life is down to like 20%. Down to 20% of what it was 50 years ago, because of all the plastics and the pollutants, chemicals and all that they've been dumping into the sea, alongside, you know, those crazy Japanese fishermen who are scooping everything up and not putting anything back. So the ecology of the sea affects the ecology of the land, affects the atmosphere. So all these things that are going on in and around us are affecting our mental and physiological stability. Everything's connected. Everything is connected. So when something goes awry, there's a cascade of dysfunction that follows. So the person that invented plastic, right? We need to find that person and bust them up. They're obviously dead now, but they have family though. They have family. We can find them family, right? But look at the convenience of plastic, but all the phthalates and all the endocrine disrupting chemicals that's in that, that's messing us up. It's jacking us right up, especially black people. We're getting the worst of it. You know, all right, that's the end of my soapbox for today. What's time?
Well, we're going to shut it down in a second. Maura, you had a question maybe, or two, or six? I know you've been typing away, you've been in the chat, but we'll see if we can close out with Maura. Oh, she may have stepped away.
All right, who's Maura?
Maura's the...
I can't see the name.
With the hat. She's Her husband works for Zoom.
Oh, okay.
All right, Maura may have stepped away.
You see me?
Here we go.
Hey, Maura, how you
It's black
doing?
at the
Oh.
moment. It's black at the moment.
Okay, man.
Oh, there we go.
all right.
There we go.
How you doing, Maura?
Hello.
Hey.
So yes, those were my questions. What are your takes on psilocybin and kimchi?
Psilocybin, mushroom, psychedelic.
Oh, you know what? I won't mess with none of that stuff because I don't know about the long term. But there have been studies to show things like autism and schizophrenia and stuff like that. There have been positive breakthroughs on certain substances, right? But most of the papers that I've read, their conclusion is more research is needed. So there's also the bacteria that's found in them shrooms and stuff like that, where there are adverse effects to some of those bacteria that are in those, that, you know, people can get really sick from doing shrooms, right?
Okay.
But the psychedelics is a used to be frowned upon, but there are major advances that have been made with psychedelics.
The research there on.
That there are positive outcomes, you know. And when we look back at in ancient times, people might have been going through some serious stressful times and in worries, and then all right, you know, smoke on this for a few minutes, and then, you know, they go into another world and whatnot, come back and it's right, everything's right as rain. So, you know, or drink this, you know.
Yeah, they drink it.
Right.
In the tea form,
In the tea form. So, you know, witches and sorcerers weren't about, you know, all right, there's incantations of words, spells, words of spell words. Then there were spells which were, you know, anatomical and, you know, alchemy, putting together potions, you know, which is basically where, you know, pharmaceuticals, pharmakeia is sorcery, right? Putting substances together for specific outcomes and whatever. Not to say that it's all evil, right? Because it's just a tool that you can use for good or evil, right? What I do as an herbalist is alchemy, you know, but it's using natural substances rather than isolating molecules and then synthesizing them, and disregard for you know, the harsh effects, you know, that a substance may have when it's not supported by natural properties that are there to harness or regulate it, right? So that's when we tell people eat whole plants, right? Eat whole plants, you know, blend your stuff up. Don't juice when it comes to certain, you know, when it comes to fruits, don't juice your fruits. Have the whole fruit and blend it so you get all the fiber involved in it, right? Because there are harsh effects when you start to isolating. So there are vegan processed foods that contain protein isolates, pea protein isolate and this isolate and all. They've isolated specific parts that this is the protein part, this is gonna build muscle or whatever, but what's the side effects? Because you've removed it from the rest of the properties that stop it from giving you a headache or giving you heartburn, you know, or causing constipation, right? So you have like dandelion and burdock. You always hear those two together. Why? Because they work so well together to balance the harsh effects that one has, the other tames it, right? So when you're dealing with psychedelics, the danger is when they isolate molecules, like they find this effect that it has and it's seen, you know. So in psychiatric wards, right, they administer, you know, pharmaceuticals. They inject people with things to calm them down or to raise their temperament or whatever, depending on. But again, side effects. They put on like 80 pounds. They slur. Their tongue swells up. Tardive dyskinesia and all kinds of stuff go on.
Suicidal
right?
thoughts.
So what's the side effect for this antidepressant? Suicidal thoughts. It's like, wait a minute, hold on a minute.
On top of the depression.
So you're gonna commit suicide. You're gonna have suicidal thoughts, but they'll be happy suicidal thoughts.
Interesting thing about so I have a few clinical psychologist friends, and I've gotten to conversation with them about how and when they prescribe these drugs, because they're very powerful psychotropic drugs, right? And they say that a lot of the way they're prescribed, or people hear that they're prescribed, is wrong, because the point of those drugs, I'm not condoning the drugs, I'm not bashing them either, I'm just saying, is that they're supposed to use the drugs minimally, and then during that time they found some kind of balance with the patient, then they're supposed to use all the other mechanisms, like the counseling, and they're not doing that anymore. They're just popping pills, they're just giving the pills out, which goes back to the psilocybin and the mushrooms and ayahuasca and all those things. Millennia, they've discovered these, because remember, millennia ago, hunter-gatherers, whether or not you believe that, they were going around, they were trying all these things, the herbalist, the witch doctor, the sage. They tried the mushrooms, they tried the different shrubs. They found out the hard way some things were poisonous in certain volumes. But it's interesting, there's almost very few plants on the planet Earth that are 100% poisonous to humans, that don't have some kind of medicinal benefit if used properly.
Right.
Okay, so going back to saying about the mushrooms, right, so if you can remove the bacteria and you can process it the way it's supposed to be processed, to remove the ink and so on and so forth, and use it for the way it's supposed to be used, because our bodies have the receptors for it. If we didn't have the receptors for it, there you go. And so, yes, I guess is the answer to the question, is that when things are used properly, and I'll agree, a lot of research is still needed on a lot of things. Don't go out there and just picking mushrooms wildly, because you may not make it, But almost every plant in this world, if researched properly, will have some kind of medicinal value and can be used in the human body if used properly. And when isolated, can be quite dangerous, but very profitable, right? Okay, so, again, I think this conversation altogether today has been talking to really the nature of our medicine, food versus pharmacological medicine, right? Homeopathic herbal, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda versus allopathic versus pharmaceutical, okay? And listen, again, we've been groomed to think a certain kind of way, but the world is telling us now that, hey, that may not be correct. We've seen within the last 18 months, a government go from flat out categorically telling us one thing about a disease, and then 18 months later saying, well, we may not have been right about it, but you were categorical on day one, which now throws into question, wait, so what about the other 50,000 things you've told us, since the dawn of the industrial age? We have to start questioning those things, especially when we see the side effects in our children. Because remember, these things that are sending our kids crazy, ADHD, ADD, autism, they are coming from foods that were FDA approved. So being FDA approved doesn't mean it's necessarily healthy or good. And then they'll tell you, well, don't eat too much of it. Well, if it's poisonous, don't have it out there at all. So all of the things we're saying that introduced to people were at some point FDA approved. We're about to shut it down, but guess who's coming? The new Ruth. So Maura, finish off, I think.
So, like, my sister visited from Switzerland. Like, we communicate all the time. But
French or German?
Switzerland?
Yeah, there's French and there's German, Swiss.
Oh,
so
German.
German. Okay.
So, I was in Whole Foods buying bell peppers, and, she's like, why are you buying organic? Or isn't all the food organic? I'm like, no,
different
girl.
country.
No
in Scandinavia, I think
all
the food's organic.
They got all foods. They got high standards, man.
There are countries that have banned GMO foods. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I shipped to her Cheetos, which is bad, but she loves them because they don't sell them over there.
They don't sell them
so
over
you
there.
poisoned your sister.
And she's going to smuggle them into Switzerland and start this black market of Cheetos and Takis.
Like
and
4 packs at a time, but yeah.
Corrupt the whole country. Next thing you know, they'll be like,
and the healthcare is free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And
in Scandinavia, when you reach 21, the government has to give you an apartment. Now, I will say they're able to do that because they have one of the world's largest trust funds, and they also stole all the gold and oil from Africa. But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, they've taken the spoils of their raiding and pillaging and put it into social practices, social services. So tax is high, but you want for nothing. Everything. They have free syringes in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So listen, if you are on drugs, they found that people that were reusing syringes were spreading HIV and AIDS and other diseases. So listen, we're not going to stop people using drugs. So we'll supply clean needles. Those are social programs. Those are communities that think, hold on a second, how do we benefit the community and not just the pharmaceutical industry, you see? And so, yeah, they banned, if I'm going to look up how many countries have banned GMO products from stores, America's not one of them.
And they're very finicky about their water as well.
Yep.
Very high standard quality in water. So there's stuff that, there are medicines that only for use in Africa.
Yeah.
Only for use in Africa, not for use in the United States or Canada, right? That they ship to Africa. They ship to so-called third world countries. It's like, well, if it ain't good for you, why do you want these people to take it? And it's like, well, we'll sell it for cheap though. Okay, we'll have it. We'll have some of that. So we have to look at the healthcare systems as well. There's something that I wanted to touch on, and I can't remember what it is right now. It was.
Well, whilst you're thinking about it, let me read off this list real quick.
Ahead.
So there's only 64 countries in the world that require that GMO products be listed on labels, right? And just in the European Union, so countries that have banned GMOs: France, Germany, Austria, Greece, Hungary, the Netherlands, Holland, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, Poland, Denmark, Malta, Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia have banned GMOs. Other countries, 64 of them, require the GMOs be labeled on the food. Other countries as well, funny enough, and it's interesting when you read these, right? Algeria, Madagascar, go figure, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Bhutan, and Saudi Arabia. And just in the Americas, just Belize, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela. And so you hear all the time about South American countries who are standing up to Monsanto and the turmoil it's caused down there. Especially we're talking about the corn in Mexico.
Right.
Corn is such a staple diet, and it's such an ancient grain in Meso and Southern America that they've outrightly banned those GMO brands of corn, that yellow corn you get from Jolly Green Giant. Who's the equivalent in America? I don't know. They've banned that down there because they want to keep their indigenous.
You grew up loving that song, Green Giant.
We talk about straight to the fridge,
Right.
But yes, absolutely. So your sister in Switzerland is having the best of that, absolutely. Well, listen, I don't know if you remember the thing, but Tanika, I think that's Tanika. She's hiding in the shadows again. Tanika's always in a cool, dark place. You're like a supplement.
My favorite place. I wanted to. So what does it take to partner as an ambassador?
For us?
Yes.
That's easy.
Okay.
How'd you do it? No, okay, so you
want to be an affiliate? What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to spread the word. I think I want to be a lot more intentional about promoting what you're doing. I've been following you guys for a while, for a long time, watching your Breakfast Club interviews and just implementing a lot of, what you do. I've already I've been eating plant-based for quite some time now, and very particular and conscious about a lot of the practices and things that you already share.
Right.
But I noticed a difference in a leveling up even more, of my health. You guys were talking about the epigenetics, being a girl who's born and raised in the States. It's there's always room to be healthier.
Right.
But I just my brother he has blood cancer. His liver is on its last leg, and they're just giving him so many terrible things. And I just, I want to be a lot more intentional. And I'm already seen as a face and voice of wellness within my, my family, and people are consulting me, but I'm not a consultant. I feel like I feel like I have a lot more to learn, but I think that would be really good.
Which one for affiliate? Well, she wants to be more than that though. So you want to be more than just an affiliate, right? So we have the affiliate program, but send us an email and we'll get together with you. We'll have a couple of Zooms with you and whatnot. So we can come to a full understanding and let you know how in what other ways you can help spread our message, because we have our 501c3 and we have a lot of programs that we are going to be implementing over the course of the next year. So you probably will be very instrumental in what we have to do. And we love when people talk like what you're saying now. We love this talk because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an army and take over the world. That's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
We're trying to take over the world. So the more people we recruit who are like, I want to be part of what you're doing, that's exactly what we want. We want to inspire others to, pick up the baton.
And and on that point, Tanika, is a great question, and really appreciate you even thinking of us. And we really do hope that the information we share does energize and activate people, to really enact change, at least in their families, for themselves primarily, then their families, and then their communities, and then of course the world, right? And so, but what does that really take? So if you think about how information is disseminated around the world right now, it's social media. There are still media outlets, of course. We still have newspapers, television shows, in the major networks, and then word of mouth, right? And then we have the direct interfaces like seminars and so on and so forth. But not everyone goes to seminars. Some people love seminars. Some people just, because they're always by the airport, right? So, as Dr. Am's saying, you need to let us know what your platform is, what your sphere of influence is, what tools you may have in place right now, what tools you could use, what it is you want to share. And then we can help you with maybe in garnering some of that information and some tools as well. And we'd love for you to tell us, what you need, and we can create those tools. We had a Electric Health Academy that we started some years ago, and we just couldn't get people to really build it. Because you may not believe this, but there's very few people as well that are behind the scenes with this company. We have quite an extensive team, believe it or not, but it really boils down to, who you see right here. And there's many things we'd love to do, which is why we're really pushing for the 501c3. And we're hoping this year to launch that in a big way so we can, get funds and get researchers in and get, the support to do all of the programs that you guys could use, right? So when this call isn't happening on a Friday, what do you do on a Tuesday afternoon when you want to point someone somewhere? You can't just send them to GBD website. Yeah, we've got some great supplements and information, but, some of the conversation we're having here, we'd have to host that on another platform. And that's what Electric Health would really be about. And then absolutely, we can have as many ambassadors for Electric Health as we like, and it's not selling or anything like that. You see, and I think that's where sometimes people get sort of twisted around because, we have to keep the lights on, and what we do affects change in the community. Would they? But anyway, I'll stop rambling on. But Tanika, great question. Drop us an email, and as Dr. Amsa said, we'll have a conversation and we'll see how we can help you, help us, help you, help us, help you, help us, help you. All righty,
thank you.
Thank you, Tanika.
All right, thanks a lot, Tanika.
Well, listen, folks, another great clinic. Today wasn't even a clinic. Today was what was today? Today was a speaker's corner.
It was a sermon of sorts.
Sermon of sorts, indeed. We really appreciate you guys letting us into your living rooms, kitchens, and boiler rooms and basements on a Friday evening. We know you guys could be out there catfishing and drinking, but you just have to be here with us. Whatever, Ruth, we're shutting you down.
No, I put something in the chat because I didn't want to speak. Just very briefly.
Oh, go ahead.
Go, you might as well ask it. Just ask it.
Oh, so I don't know what it's called. I asked, what is it?
Oh.
Expand on what you're talking about.
Oh, because, you don't know what 501c3 means. We have a non-profit charitable organization that we're setting up. We've had registered for a long time. We just haven't had the resources to fully set up, which will allow us to disseminate the source of information we talk about that isn't necessarily about our products, but about the paradigm, about health, about medicine, about alternatives, lifestyles, and really pushing this around the country and around the world, helping communities in need, helping communities that are being disenfranchised or underserviced in learning and understanding about alternative medicines and about really turning their backs on poisonous foods. And in doing so, we're going to partner with a bunch of different organizations to be able to disseminate this information. We'll be doing roadshows and seminars around the country. Listen, we'll be getting billboards, but a part of that would be us setting up an academy where we can coach people to be similar to Dr. Amsu, or Dr. Amsu light. So like him, but, more smiling and stuff, But that all takes money, it all takes resources, it takes a team. And so we're building a non-profit so we can basically raise funds to go and do all of that good stuff.
And Ruth, I need you to there's an organization called MCAC. I can't remember what the acronym is, but they put out the thing about prostate cancer. It had it had Idris Elba in it, couple other guys,
Morgan
Freeman, and they were talking about
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
prostate cancer and all of that. And I want to get in contact with them. And Steve McQueen, the guy that did Small Axe, the series, he was responsible for the commercial or the advert, whatever it was. But he's behind.
He's of Grenadian background. Steve McQueen.
Really Stephen? Okay.
Oh, he's on great. That's why he messed up the Lovers Rock.
The Lovers
thing.
Rock was
I knew
was distressful.
My husband and I looked at that. We loved it, right?
little Easter eggs with Canadian flags.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Oh, Canadian Dad. Yeah, great
right.
series of shows.
Yeah,
That one was, we'll have a panel with him when we get a chance. We'll get him on our podcast.
But Ruth, I want you to look into MCAC, right? Which is something to do with I can't remember.
Prostate cancer. Yeah.
No, just an organization, and they're focusing.
Yeah, but it's men something and
You're
other.
right,
I can't
yes.
remember what it's called.
I could look it up, but I want to show.
But see what you can do in bridging the gap between us and them.
All right, Ruth. So you have your marching orders.
I can look that up.
There you go. All right, folks. Listen, it's Friday. It's drinking time. Love you all. Send in love, man. Happy detoxing. Happy healing. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
We're out.
Thanks for having us.